Hey y'all, welcome back to another Shabbat Soundbite. I know I haven't done one of these in a while, but here we are. Today I want to talk about the adulterous woman. So I saw a video earlier this week, and I will leave the video in the description below. And it talks about the adulterous woman, but it brings up a point that I don't think I've ever thought about. And that was the man who she was caught in the act of adultery with. He's never brought up in discussion. He wasn't brought up in this story. And it begs the question, why? It begs some other questions too, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I want to go ahead and read that. And I'm coming from John chapter 8. And Yahushua went to the Mount of Olives, and at dawn he came again into the set apart place, and all the people were coming to him. And having sat down, he was teaching them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery. And having set her in the midst, they said to him, Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. And in the Torah, Moshe commanded us that such should be stoned. What then do you say? And I want to pause right there. In the law, it says that two people who are caught in the act of adultery, two consenting adults caught in the act of adultery, both of them are to be stoned outside the camp. Well, why did you only bring the woman? What about the man? You know, and it makes me think about how in today's time, when a man steps out in his marriage or in a relationship with another woman, the woman is always condemned, but he's never at fault. And I'm like, over the course of thousands of years, that has not changed. The other woman is still condemned, but the man is not held to any kind of accountability. And I find that very interesting. And thus they said, trying him so that they might accuse him. But Yahusha, bending down, wrote on the ground with a finger as though he did not hear. But as they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, He who is without sin among you, let him be the first to throw a stone at her. And bending down again, he wrote on the ground. He heard what they said, but as they're speaking, he's writing on the ground. And I think the general consensus is that he was writing down each of them and the sins that they had committed as they're sitting there talking. And I think at a certain point when he stood up and they probably saw what he was doing and what he was writing, their sins being exposed to everyone, just as they tried to expose this woman's sin to everyone and to humiliate her, but also to try to trap Yahusha. And it makes me wonder, why didn't he say, well, doesn't the law say that both are to be stoned? Where is this man who she was caught in the act of adultery with? It begs that question. That's something that he could have said. But more importantly, y'all are trying to condemn this woman, but you all are not without sin. And when they heard it, being reproved by their conscience, went out one by one, beginning from the older ones until the last. And so that makes me wonder, like, what order did he write their names and sins in? Did he start with the older ones because those are the ones who are supposed to be setting an example for the younger ones? Now, mind you, these are all men who brought this woman in. And Yahusha was left alone, and the woman standing in the middle. And Yahusha straightened up, and seeing no one but the woman, said to her, Woman, where are those accusers of yours? Did no one condemn you? And she said, No one, Master. And Yahusha said to her, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. So we are not to condemn others when we ourselves are not without sin. One of my questions is, throughout all of this, I couldn't help but to wonder, how was this woman caught in the act of adultery? Like, were the windows open? Were the blinds drawn open? Were they outside? Like, how did this come about? And all these men who brought her in, what, did y'all go around gossiping as y'all are pulling this woman, saying, "Hey, we caught her in adultery. We caught her in adultery." And it made me think, like, maybe the man who she was caught in adultery with was one of their boys, and they were like, "Nah, we're not gonna say nothing." But her, yeah, let's go take her so we can catch him in a lie and try to trap him, because they already wanted to assassinate Yahusha. So it just begs that question, like, how did how did y'all catch her in the act. I would like to know the logistics of how did this happen? Like where? How did y'all see it? Like what was this, you know? And was it, was it a setup? Did y'all try to set her up? You know? It just makes me have other questions about, okay, well, yeah, that's just something that I wanted to kind of bring about because there's just other questions that I have, but at the same time, it's like, why is this man never mentioned? And that's all I have for y'all.